Hi, welcome to Mennonite Farmhouse. I'm Leanne, and if you're new to my channel, I do cooking and baking from scratch, canning, and dehydrating videos. If that sort of thing interests you, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Today, we are canning sweet and sour sauce. I love this sauce because you can heat up home canned chicken or pork with it, and then serve it over mashed potatoes, rice, or pasta. Then serve it along a side of a salad or green beans or broccoli, and you have a complete meal within minutes. With that being said, let's get to canning. So we are using the complete book of preserving, and then on page 262 you'll find the 2-in-1 barbecue sauce. It makes a Stampede style barbecue sauce and a sweet and sour sauce, and you just use the base to make either one of these. But if you're only going to use one recipe, we're going to cut this in half to make the sweet and sour sauce, which is what I'm going to be doing. Not sure if I have all the tomatoes to puree, so to make it simple, we're just going to cut this recipe in half and just read this recipe. So what you'll need for the sweet and sour sauce, you're going to need 8 cups of pureed seeded plum tomatoes, which you'll cut in half and de-seed, and I'll show you how we do that. Then you're going to need a cup of pureed onions. I used about an onion and a half and just pulsed it in the food processor until it was liquid almost. And I used about 1.5 bell peppers to get 1 1/8 cups of pureed seeded bell peppers. And then you're going to need a tablespoon of mustard seed, and you want them crushed. And you need 1.5 teaspoons of celery seed, and you're going to need some dried chilies, and we're going to seed these and crush them. And you also need about 1.5 garlic cloves finely chopped. That is the base of this recipe. To start with, you're going to need a gallon's worth of tomato puree from San Morano's. They specify this in the recipe. So what I do is just cut off the core and slice them long ways, and Howard is de-seeding them with a spoon. You want to make sure you're cutting out the badness of your tomatoes, because that'll go in the jar and you don't know if it might be hovering bacteria or viruses that will make your sauce not edible. Next, we're pushing the tomatoes through a food mill, and notice what a difference it makes in the puree if you take the seeds up before you do this. Then we're going to chop our peppers in the food processor, and in hindsight I should have used my smaller 4-quart bowl inside the food processor. It would have made life a lot easier. This is the consistency you're looking for with the bell peppers. You want them almost liquefied but not quite. I just love my Pampered Chef garlic peeler. It makes the stress of garlic peeling go away. I found the easiest way to crush the mustard seed is with a mortar and pestle. If you don't own a mortar and pestle and you have a spice grinder, maybe pulse the seeds in that a few times to crush them. You don't want a powder or them pulverized, just enough to break them open. To finish off the sweet and sour sauce, we're going to add a tablespoon of finely chopped ginger, 3/4 of a cup of apple cider vinegar, 3/4 of a cup of honey, 1/2 cup of soy sauce, and 2 cups of crushed pineapple with the juice. I need a tablespoon of finely chopped ginger. I think I'm just going to cut this and save this for something else and peel it. Then we're going to chop it into slices to save the food processor some work here. steel pan, you want to add half the tomatoes puree. And over high heat, you want to stir frequently. Since we are doing half a batch, this probably won't take as long. So we're going to achieve a full rolling boil. Since it didn't take very long for it to come to a rolling boil, we're going to gradually add the rest of our tomato puree. We're going to keep stirring until it reduces by half. The ball book says it's going to take maybe an hour. Well, since we're only doing a half batch, my guess would be a half hour. But we're going to keep it at high heat and stirring constantly. I keep a stainless steel ruler in my pantry for occasions like this, where I just measure how deep my pot is. So I need this to reduce down by an inch.
Minutes later.
I've been doing this by myself without you. Oh. But remember, the reward is sweeter than the journey. We will have something for our pantry shelves for quick meals. Then we're going to add our bell peppers and our onions. We're going to add our garlic and our mustard seeds and our chilies that I crushed up while I was waiting. Alright, and a half a tablespoon of celery seed. And it's starting to look like sweet and sour sauce. I hope you don't get burnt since you're so close to the stove. Alright. We want to make sure our bell peppers and onions are tender. So we're going to cook them another 10 minutes.
10 minutes later.
Now that our timer is up, we're going to add the rest of our ingredients. So we're going to add the apple cider vinegar, the soy sauce, the ginger, the crushed pineapple with the juice, and the honey. And I usually spray my measuring cups with Pam, or just to get honey out of the jar easier, but I didn't have any on hand. Guess that's going on my shopping list. If you were making the barbecue sauce and the sweet and sour sauce, you would have divided here instead of just adding the stuff for the sweet and sour sauce. Let me double check to see if I have everything in there, and I do. We're going to bring this back to a boil over high heat, stirring frequently. Then we're going to reduce the heat and boil gently for about 45 minutes. Then we'll be ready to can. And I won't let you sit here for 45 minutes. So I'll bring you back when it's ready to can.
45 minutes later.
You want to clean out your sink, get your jars ready. Make sure they're hot and clean. Anything that's processed more than 10 minutes, you don't have to sterilize anymore. I doubt we'll need more than 6 jars. When the sauce is ready, it's going to look like this. It's going to be dark with all the ginger and garlic through it and your onions. I hope this justifies it. And it's steaming up. But it smells wonderful. We'll get to laying this into jars. We got hot jars. Put my canners on. I'm using a steam canner. I've only had it a week now and I love it so far. It's just like a water bath canner, except less water. So we're going to use our ladle to fill up our jars, and we want a 1/2 inch headspace. And we want to debubble. And remeasure. Then we're going to wipe our rim. And use our 4-jar lid. And our ring. And fingertip tight. So far, I'm loving using 4-jar lids. And if you would like 10% off your next order, please use Mennonite 10 at checkout. Alright, I'm gonna, since these are pints and they don't fit in there as well as the quarts did the other day that I was canning, I'm gonna put the tray in from my pressure canner, and then I'm gonna put the lid on. We're gonna wait for it to come up, the needle to come into the green zone for my altitude here. And we'll be processing these for 20 minutes. But we're in the green, and we're gonna go for it for 20 minutes. All right, the timer's up, and since this is steam canning, we're just gonna turn the burner off and let it come down. I found out when I took the lid off the first time I used it that I had too much siphoning from my jars of peaches. So we're just going to gradually let this come down. You want the temperature of the canner to slowly cool off. You don't want a big jump in from extreme hot to cool. It'll cause siphoning. After I turned the burner off and shut the camera down, I went out to the garden and helped my husband bring up some potatoes that we dug up. And we got a couple buckets full from just 2 rows. And the jars were almost already sealed except for one, and that one took maybe 5 more minutes to seal. And I only got 4 jars in this batch, so I highly recommend doing a full batch to make it worth your time. Thanks so very much for watching. If you love the content of this video, I suggest you watching this next. Thanks so much. Take care and God bless.